It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome in to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 70 today. Really glad that you are here with us. We've been waiting all week for you, and thank goodness you are here. Thank goodness we are here enjoying this next hour together. Clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. How about that? The pool is good to go. The hot tub is fired up. The grill is going at its max. Fruits and vegetables off to the right. Cold drinks off to the left. Hot drinks and desserts inside. And yes, we still have that cigar bar in the back left corner of the pool area. Help yourself if that's what you enjoy, as one of our listeners certainly did and asked that we include a cigar bar every week, so we are doing that. But yes, clothes-free living. Hopefully you're clothes-free right now while you're listening. We certainly are when we're broadcasting. If you can be, terrific. It enhances the hour. If you cannot be, or if you choose to not be, that's okay too. We are just glad that you are here enjoying this hour with us. Well, on today's show, we will talk to CYNDI TENDICK. She is currently the president for AANR of the West Region. She's also one of the managing partners for the Shangri Ranch in Arizona. So we'll talk to CYNDI TENDICK today. We will have part two of my interview with BLANEY and STEVE. They own and operate the Playa Sonrisa Resort in southern Mexico. And believe me, when you hear part two of this interview, if you haven't already concluded this after part one, you will want to make a reservation to go there. Playa Sonrisa in Mexico. BLANEY and STEVE, part two today. Of course, Lisa Monroe will be here. We'll talk briefly about the hurricane that we went through just a couple of weeks ago. Made it relatively unscathed, and we appreciate all of the direct messages and emails. Hey, you guys okay? You doing all right? Well, that kept us going. We appreciate that very much. We'll also talk about Philip Oak. He wrote that book, Surprise into Freedom. He's been on our show before. He did something really special over this past summer, and it got a write-up in the AANR Bulletin. His Naked as Created gathering that he had in Texas. We'll talk about that a little bit today as well. Once again, we're glad you're here. You're listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 70 today. And now let's get to part one of my interview with CYNDI TENDICK, president for AANR West, and also one of the managing partners for the Shangri-La Ranch in Arizona. We are headed out to Arizona today, to the Shangri-La Ranch. We're going to talk to the current president for the West Region of the American Association for Nude Recreation. She's also one of the managing partners of the Shangri-La Ranch Nudist Resort. So let's welcome her to the show this morning from Arizona and the Shangri-La Ranch, CYNDI TENDICK. Good morning, CYNDI. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I'm awake here, happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
You sound alive and well and happy and full of energy and enthusiasm. Is that a fairly accurate statement so far?
Very accurate for my demeanor. I am a very outgoing, welcoming person, 95, 98% of the time.
Well, I've heard some clips of you speaking in interviews, and I saw some of the things on Close Free International. That's exactly how you come off. Like if I went into an office as a guest or a first-time visitor and I met somebody like you, it's like, okay, now I'm in the right place. I have somebody who's happy. She's excited I walked in the door. Let's get this done. So I'm guessing that's a big part of what goes on at your place. Probably all employees are like that, or at least that's your goal.
And that's always our ultimate goal. Here at Shangri-La, we really like to create that welcoming environment right from the beginning, sets that tone right when you're in the office, even on a phone call. I had somebody the other day tell me, I talked to him on the phone for a few minutes, answered some questions, and they said to me at the end of it, they said, "Thank you so much. You have such an exuberant demeanor." And I just thought that it was a really cool compliment and not really something that I had heard before about myself. So since then, we've kind of been joking around about that a little bit, but we want people to feel welcome and excited to be there. We always like to create an atmosphere of being able to essentially forget about reality when you're at Shangri-La. It's an escape, and a lot of people come up on the weekends or even just for a day in the middle of the week to enjoy just that little bit of respite and some peace and quiet. And I think overall that's what the nudist community also is. No matter where you go, I think that's one of the main draws for a lot of people is being able to escape the shackles of society and get a free, genuine kind of experience and just be for however long of time they're allowed at that space and in that mentality. So we like
Yeah.
to start that right from the beginning.
Well, I've heard a lot of people say, and I have experienced this myself. The worst thing about going to a nudist resort is the moment when you have to leave. Like
Yeah.
that's just a terrible moment, isn't it?
It is. A lot of people
Yeah.
come into the office and they'll, we'll be working on something and look up and say, "Well, how can I help you?" And they'll start it out with a joke and or they'll say, "Well, we have a complaint to make." And it's like, "Oh no, that's definitely not my goal. What's
Yeah.
going on?" And they go, "Well,
Yeah.
we have to leave." And so it is heartwarming to know that people, experience the same thing, and they don't want to leave because they are having such a good time and feel so comfortable in the environment that we have created.
Yeah, and it shows. And I've never been to your place, but I can tell that's exactly how you run the place. Happiness, exuberance. You work close for a living for all the right reasons, which makes people happy to begin with. And you're a big part of that, as well as your mom and everybody else out there. Now, as I understand the history of Shangri-La Ranch, somebody else started it way back when, and then eventually your grandparents bought it, your parents took over, and now you're a managing partner as well. Is that the general history?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it was started in 1959. Went through some different ownership over the period of about 40 years, just shy of 40 years. And my grandparents came in mid 1996. They were actually looking for a retirement project.
Mhm.
Went down to Florida for a few years, did that whole snowbird thing, and then made their way out west and settled, landed here, and took over in 1997. My family, my parents, my older brother and sister, we all moved out here in the fall of 1997, and I've essentially been here ever since. My brother and sister still live in state. My sister Danielle, she works in the office with us. So it is definitely a family affair. Nude recreation, we believe that it should be family based. And that's, again, something that we exemplify. My dad, between my mom, my sister, and I, who work in the office, my dad is our head maintenance guy. My brother also doesn't work day to day operations, but will come in and help out with events. And we all grew up here. And that's something, like I said, that we grew up with. It's a value that we all share and something that we want to continue as much as we can.
While running the resort, Shangri-La Ranch, fairly large place, and a lot of people come in and out. Anything unusual or in particular that's gone on over the years?
People have come to me a lot. One of my positions, obviously, with AANR West is quite a few parks have either closed or considered, going textile. And everybody's immediate reaction is, well, we need to start a fund and we need to buy these clubs up. That way they don't close. Oh, there's a lot more to owning not just a nudist resort, but owning a business and owning a 24-hour business than a lot of people realize. It's more than just, opening the gate and letting people hang out by the pool. Here I've got 50 acres, I've got 160 sites, I've got 100 full-time residents, keeping track of all of that, dealing with utilities and maintenance and going through some of those things. It's a bit more than some people realize sometimes. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It has its challenges, but there's a bit more to it. So,
Yeah. While they're sleeping or relaxing at the pool, you're taking care of issues beneath the surface that they don't see, don't need to see because they're there to relax, right?
exactly.
Yeah, to me, that's really the best way to go when the whole family is involved. Mom, dad, kids. We're just going out. We're going out to the Shangri-La Ranch for the day and enjoy close free living. It just makes everybody happier. We already know the research on the body image issues. There really isn't any because you're out there all the time. So definitely keep up the great work out there. And I know your mom. We ran a clip of hers, the vice president of AANR. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah, and that's also service to the organization is something that has always been a big part of us, and that's just kind of the people that we are. We're not just active, in the AANR community, but that is a big part. We are pretty big on service and giving back. We believe in AANR and the mission, the values, everything that they stand for, and everything that they do on a daily basis. But again, we were all kind of raised and taught to have service and giving hearts. We are extremely active, like I said, not just in the ANR community, but in our local community. That's something that we find to be a big part. It has been very, very beneficial for us as a business. We're not in a city, we are outside of Phoenix. And we have come across in the, 25 plus years that we've been here, we've come across different zoning restrictions and a buildup of a community around us. However, being a part of the community, being an active and positive part, we're heavily active in our local Kiwanis Club. We have a wonderful relationship with our fire and medical department because, emergencies happen and they are in here pretty constantly. We're lucky enough to have a really good working relationship with them. We give back to them as well as through other organizations that are here. So this new visible altruism that's happening across the being encouraged, which I think is great. It's something that we've been doing for a long, long time, as
Hmm.
we feel it is a big part of, normalizing quote unquote social nudity. This past summer, as well as 2 summers ago and the year before that, we hosted a local community swim camp where everybody stayed dressed, so a little bit different twist on the thing, but we have a pool and there's not a open community pool around here. So
Wow.
we found that we open our pool, we ask everybody to stay dressed, and we invite kids in and we give them swim lessons. And so that's a big part of our community outreach and just goes back to that being active and positive participants in whatever community you're in, whether it's the nudist community, whether it's your eh, physical community where you exist, and helps normalize what we do and who we are.
Yeah. Well, somebody once told me they're not going to care what you say or do until they know that you care.
Yeah,
And
for
that's
sure.
certainly a great way to do it. Yeah. Well, what's going on with the West region for the American Association for Nude Recreation? You're in your fourth and final year. You cannot run again, at least not now. You've had 2 consecutive terms. Well, what's going on out there? What are you guys working on? Anything left on your agenda or platform?
So we did have a couple of years coming out of COVID, and I hate to use that cliche, but that was, we are
Yeah.
coming out of it and relating back to it. Personally, for us here, COVID was really good. I know in other parts of the region, they had to modify and adapt, and things that they did were super successful. We have been putting an emphasis on a lot of our non-landed, smaller groups, also known as some of the travel clubs, and what we're
Mhm.
focusing on now is connecting those smaller clubs and connecting them to landed establishments. That way we can help foster and further those relationships. So we make sure that that not just the landed clubs are supported, but the home nudists and the ones that have found more solace in the smaller groups also have bigger connections. So, working on fostering those relationships. My husband, Jeff, is also taking on a bit more of a brand management strategy. He worked in sales for several years. And so, going into my last year, I'm looking towards him a little bit to help reestablish the Anner West brand and just make sure that we're doing what we can to make sure that everybody knows who our clubs are, who we support, where things are at, and continue that when people see certain things, it's important to say, I know that organization, or at least we feel that it's important for
Yeah.
them to say, I know that and I want to support it and here's why. So those are some of our main focuses over the next my next year in Inner West.
Yeah, no, that sounds terrific. And you recently hosted the annual convention for ANR, is that correct? In August?
We did, yeah. We did a back-to-back Inner West convention and then an Inner convention as well.
I was going to say I don't know how you do it, but I do know how you do it. You go on little sleep, you keep yourself in good physical and mental and psychological and emotional condition, and you just go for broke, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's what we're here for. Everybody looks at me and they go, "Oh, you're so young," and here it is. And how do you do it? I'm like, "Well, I'm young. I have a ton of energy. I don't, but very little sleep, lots of coffee, couple
that's it.
cocktails in the evening, and hit the ground running every day. There's nothing else you can do after that. Take it all as it comes and control what you can and let go what you can't."
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I had this job once. It involved board meetings, and I usually got to work at about 6:30 in the morning. And we had a board meeting that went until 2 o'clock in the morning. I had some business to do with a couple of board members, and I got home at 3. And of course, I was in bed by 3:01 and sleeping. The next morning, I showed up at work at 6:30, and people looked at me. I was like, "What are you doing here? I heard the board meeting went late last night." Yeah, it went till about 2. I got to bed about 3, but here I am. And they wanted to know why, why didn't I sleep in? I said, because there are things to do. Life goes on. And if I'm not here, I can't be a part of the life that I'm in charge of. Same with you, right? If you're just sleeping your time away, you're not paying attention to Anna or to Shangri-La. So you just do it. And that's kind of how you're wired, isn't it?
Absolutely correct. Like you say, there's things to do, places to see, people to meet, coming up here
Mhm.
in about a month. I am going to a conference. I'm very excited about it. I got a scholarship to go and go into a conference that actually has nothing to do with AANR, but it's for outdoor hospitality.
Mm,
So going to that, looking forward to learning some more and hopefully being able to bring that back to the clubs. I mean, essentially all of Anner resorts, landed or not, one of the main aspects is we like to recreate and we like to recreate outdoors. So an opportunity arose and I'm excited for it and moving forward with that organization because I think there's quite a bit that could be learned and passed on to other clubs and be incorporated through some of those partnerships. So on an Anner level, I know we talked about, goals and focuses for Anner West, but on an AANR level, you go back to, my position with strategic planning and my role on membership marketing committee. I think developing some of those partnerships with some of those non-nudist organizations, again, just to get the name and the brand out there and get a face to something where people say, I didn't know that spaces like that existed. Well, of
mm,
course they exist. I mean, we're a 25,000 plus member organization. We've
right.
got over, 100 clubs across the country. You're represented in the Bahamas and Puerto Rico and Canada and Mexico. Something that large needs to be expressed and shown to people that this is an option and hopefully maybe it can help combat some of the clubs closing, maybe, through different partnerships, through different organizations that we haven't thought about before we end up with clubs openings or
Mm.
making transitions from textiles to clothing optional or nudist resorts instead of it going the other way as it has for so long.
Yeah, no, that would be terrific. Now, at some point, we've already talked about your grandparents got involved with Shangri-La, then your parents, and now you and some of your siblings. I know you have some kids. Are there any thoughts to maybe 10, 20 years down the road they'll be involved as well?
I don't personally have kids. My husband has kids, so I have some stepkids, a couple of grandkids. My sister has, I have twin nephews, and they are, out here on a weekly basis. They come and they want to buy a new video game, and so they come up here and work for the day and get a few bucks, and so they are involved. I mean, and that's how I started.
Yeah.
Working in our restaurant and putting sheets on a bed in a room and just here and there and whatever needed to be done. Like you said, you get up and what needs to be done, and here we go.
Yeah.
So we do have, some direct family that is already involved. It is always the hope that they will continue to stay involved, get more involved, and then that we have created something that can be passed down to the next generation. So it is a hope, it's a dream, and that's what my grandfather wanted, and that's what we're all doing. That's what we're here for, and eventually want to leave it to somebody that has the same passion, the same drive, and wants the same things not just for the park, but to be a part of nude recreation altogether, all the way around as well.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job at it as well. Now, last question for you in the West region for the American Association for Nude Recreation. As I recall, there are 8 states. And first of all, is that correct? And then you also have part of Mexico in your region too, right?
Yes, that is correct. We are in 8 states and parts of Mexico.
Yeah, well, that'll keep you just a little bit busy on top of running the Shangri-La Ranch, right?
Yeah, absolutely, it does. It's a challenge to balance it all, but again, hit the
Yeah.
ground running every day and make it all work. So, things like this, getting more information out there, being able to connect with people, whether it's through Zoom, whether it's through, the meet and greets, and has been a really huge benefit, I think, coming into the, evolution of technology that we are in, helping people embrace that a little bit and knowing that it can have great utilization has been super helpful for us. Like you said, I've got 8 states with people in almost all of them, and having being able to connect to them on a regular basis so that they can connect to their folks is tremendous, and we're really grateful and thankful that we have the technological pieces in place that we can do those things and help facilitate those connection points.
Yep. Well, you're doing a great job at it. We've been talking to CYNDI TENDICK. She is the current president for the West Region, the American Association for Nude Recreation, also a managing partner of the Shangri-La Ranch in Arizona. And CYNDI TENDICK, keep on doing all that you're doing for the greater good, and go out there and have a great close-free day. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Frank. You as well.
All right. Thank you. The very terrific CYNDI TENDICK. She's just one of those people, always on fire, always on the go, doing whatever she can for you, for her customers, for AANR. President for the American Association for Nude Recreation, the West Region, managing partner for the Shangri-La Ranch in Arizona. We'll have CYNDI back on in 2025 for a full-length interview. How about that? We thank CYNDI TENDICK for all of her time on today's show. We are the official podcast for the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member? If so, great. If not, get to AANR.com and become a member today. You're listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 70. Not sure about you, but I hear music. It can only mean one thing. The great, the terrific, the over-the-top wonderful, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the completely over-the-top, the completely clothes-free, and the completely smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm doing really well now that Mother Nature has decided to be calm.
That's true. It's been a calm couple of weeks here. And before we get to what happened around here, did you have an enjoyable clothes-free week this past week?
Of course I did. I always have an enjoyable clothes-free week. I did have to get out a bit, but and that's always, it's like that moment you walk back in the door and it's just got to come off. It's just everything just has to come off. So so otherwise it was fabulous. So
I'm just thinking, saying enjoyable and clothes-free in the same sentence is really redundant, isn't it? Just say clothes-free, enjoyable is implied because it's always present.
the enjoyable is understood.
I thought we should mention something about the hurricane. We recently went through Hurricane Milton. It's now been a couple of weeks or so, but people want to hear because we did a few shows in advance in anticipation of the hurricane. I think we did 3 weeks of work in 1 week. And in 1 week, we do 10 years of work. So we worked really hard
We
to get those
sure
shows out.
did.
Yeah. Basically, we had no damage, but we did lose power and internet for multiple days. So we could barely communicate with people. There were a couple times I drove a reasonable distance away to at least get cell service because I couldn't even get data or cell service to send a message or check Twitter or email or anything else. How about you? You've come through it in one piece, but anything unusual?
I came through it in one piece. The wind was really bad, and we had a lot of wind gusts, and the rain was heavy. But the East Coast was a little bit better off than the West Coast of Florida because there were some horrible tornadoes. But I have a friend in the West Coast whose house was flooded yet once again 10 days later after the last hurricane that went through, Helene. So it's been a tumultuous kind of weather year here.
Yeah. Yeah. The people on the West Coast, as you mentioned, got beaten up pretty badly, as well as the area near Cocoa Beach around NASA.
Yeah.
They took some pretty big hits, and even some areas near here, but not here. We're very fortunate
Very
to have
much
escaped
so.
that. Yeah. So we appreciate everybody who wrote in to say, how you guys doing? Are you still around? Do you make through it? make it through okay. So we appreciate all of that. Do you remember? I know you do. Philip Oak. He wrote the book "Surprised into Freedom." We've had him on the show a few times, right?
Yeah, I certainly do remember Philip.
Yeah. Well, as you know, he sent along something because we each have in front of us here, "Naked as Created Gathering," and this was featured in a recent AANR bulletin, and his website achingforfreedom.com. We don't have time to read the whole thing, but could you read the first paragraph of this article, Naked as Created Gathering?
Star Ranch Nudist Club hosted the Naked as Created gathering of Christian naturists for the second time in 3 years this past July. It was a delightful time as around 85 people from at least 15 states participated in services during the course of the week. There was plenty of time for fun activities for the kids and kid at heart grown-ups to do together, including, but not limited to, snow cones, name necklace making, rock painting, yard games, sand volleyball, pickleball, and of course, all of the water-based games in the pool.
And as he said in a later paragraph, there's a level of authenticity and vulnerability that is rarely accomplished elsewhere when we have these gatherings, is what he was talking about. And he led the whole iteration, and Pastor Jim and his wife Kim were the event organizers. Matthew Neal runs a biblical naturist blog. Remember Chris from Mudwalkers? He was there as well as a whole bunch of other people. And it just sounds like a great time was had by all. Christian naturists getting together and doing everything as God intended, as Pastor Jim likes to say. Worshiping the Lord, singing songs, reading from the Bible. Doesn't get any better than that, does it, Lisa?
No, it does not. And it's a wonderful thing that there is a good mindset among Christians about naturists. You know, not everyone feels that way, but this is the beginning of a really good course, I think, value for us to live by and enjoy and know that this is a very natural thing to do.
Yeah. I'm always struck by when people say, well, I was, I grew up in a conservative family, went to church every Sunday, so we were never naked. Now, I wait till they're done talking before I say, that doesn't line up at all. If you were studying the Bible, you would have been naked all the time. But as we've talked about before, society got involved and businesses got involved, the clothing industry included, and people actually believe it's wrong to be nude, even though we were made in God's image. And he said it was very good. He created us and said, well, I don't think he said these words, but, doggone son of a gun, I did a whale of a job here.
Yes.
Impressed with his work. And then we went over and covered it up. Like, well, I don't think so, God. We better cover this up here. And he's thinking, well, what are you covering up my work for? You wouldn't cover up half of a Picasso painting, yet you cover up my creation. So it's always an interesting discussion when you talk to somebody. Well, I was raised with the Bible every Sunday, so we're always clothed. Oops, I guess we have to sit down and talk. And then you show them, the various verses. And before you know it, the clothes start coming off and everybody just enjoys clothes-free living, don't they?
They do. And I've always looked at this as that there is the Bible and its teachings, and then there are zealots who interpret it the way they choose to interpret it. And I think we all take what we take from the scriptures, but the fact is I don't think the Bible meant for us to be the way we are in society now, and to hide and to think things are horrible because someone's naked, and just to judge. There people are very judgmental when it comes to this, and I don't think that God was. I think God was like, here, that's who you are. So I think we're being a tiny bit of a hypocrite when we follow that path.
Yeah, as Philip Oak said when he was on the show, he said God created this and he called it good. He created that and he called it good. He goes, but he created us, and he said very good.
Yes.
Pointing out what he created, he was very impressed with, even himself. And I got a kick out of toward the end. He said the only downside about this whole naturist retreat is having to wait for next year's meeting, so, which will be next summer, which will be held at Cypress Cove Nudist Resort in Kissimmee, Florida, July 13th through 18th of 2025. And you can take 15% off your room or camping spot with a code RETREAT, all capital letters. So what a great deal. And I don't know if you had a chance to read the Philip Oak book, Surprise into Freedom. Recommended for everybody. I didn't actually read it, but I did listen to it. I listened to the whole thing on audiobook. and it just talks about how his wife is a whole new person once she discovered living as God intended. And Philip Oak mentioned he had a porn addiction, and that just, I hate to use the word magically, but it went away when he discovered being nude puts you in alignment with God's word. So they both discovered it. That's why he wrote the book, and his wife had a piece of the action too, as far as writing the book. And we recommend everybody to get it, don't we?
It's an excellent book, and I've read part of it. I haven't finished it yet, and I need to do that. Time keeps getting in the way, but it's a fabulous book, and I think it's eye-opening for a lot of reasons.
All right. Well, plan on, if not before, the next time we have a hurricane, there's nothing else to do except for read. So you'll be able to read it then, if not before.
Exactly. I can do that.
Okay. All right, Lisa Monroe, with that, we must head for the hills. Go out there and have a great close-free week. We'll see you next time.
You too, Frank. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. The terrific Lisa Monroe pops in once a week for her wonderful segments on naturism. We appreciate all the time that she puts into the show. She also completely all by herself runs our website. Everything you see there is the work of Lisa Monroe. And she creates those Thursday memes that we put on Twitter advertising the show. So we thank Lisa Monroe for everything that she does with our show. You're listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 70. We thank you very much for being with us. We look forward to this time all week, and we are glad that it is finally here. Well, let's get to part 2 now of my interview with BLANEY and STEVE, the owners-operators of Playa Sonrisa in Mexico. And some of the complimentary services listed on your page. I mean, you offer kayaks, paddleboards, snorkeling gear, lounge chairs, and hammocks. They don't have to drag those on a plane. And you do have high-speed Wi-Fi, which I know people probably ask about all the time, but you do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't live without it. So yes, we definitely need high-speed Wi-Fi. However, most of our clients say they don't come there, obviously, to watch movies or get on their computer. But if you need to contact your work or your kids, it's available and it is high speed. And we actually just got Starlink as a backup because I'm so adamant about not having internet. So we have 2 separate internets in case one goes down because we are off grid and sometimes power goes out, which means then internet goes out. So as long as we have power, which we pretty much always do, there will be internet. And then you were talking about some of the amenities. I'll have to say, Steve also in his genius, he built 3 amazing hanging beds on the beach from scratch out of wood. I showed him a picture, Frank, and I said, these would be really nice on our beach. And he goes, I'll have them built tomorrow. I'm like, no, I didn't mean tomorrow. Just get them built. So he built 3 amazing beds. They're full-size beds, and our clients love to take siestas on those. They kind of just sway a little bit, and they're so comfortable. And our clients actually sometimes will sleep on those throughout the night, just because if their room's a little bit, muggy, or they just love looking at the stars at night. So yeah. If I come up with an idea, Steve can build it.
I thought you were going to say he got them done by noon that day, but he took a whole day. So there is some hope.
He took a whole day.
There's some hope.
Yeah. I really do have to be careful when I say, Steve, I need this. He'll be like, right now? I'm like, no, it's just an idea. We've done a lot of improvements, and that's one of the things I think the people that have been to Playa Sonrisa over 22 years that have been back on our watch have noticed, like, we've cleaned up. We now have a beautiful gift shop with homemade jewelry from locals in town. Yeah. We have, a smaller book selection because 99% of the books that were there were dry rotted. So we had to get rid of them. Yeah. We now have a little, for toiletries and bug spray and things that you might forget. Right. We have a little, we also have cigars and cigarettes because, people, we're off grid. If you forget them, there's no place to go to get them. So true. You clean that up. We, like you said, the restaurant was never really made to serve a lot of people. So we ended up taking out a wall and putting in like a swinging door with a little kitchen. And then he built an entire outdoor kitchen for us because we were cooking in our home all of the meals, which got really hot very fast. I thought I was in a sauna. Naked or not, you felt like you were in a sauna. Right. So He built a ginormous outdoor kitchen with 2 stoves and, another refrigerator and a brick oven. He built a brick oven pizza oven. He built or had somebody designed and built a smoker. So like we've made a lot of improvements. We actually are putting in a pool. That's something that's working on right now. Even though we have the sea, and the sea is beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's swimmable. We put in a hot tub lounge. He built this really cool thing where we have hammocks in the water now. So we're trying to just make this, like you said, a place that you come and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And we've actually had people do that, Frank. They literally have canceled their other hotels in Tulum and they changed their dates on their flights and stayed extra days with us. Like
Wow.
that is like the best feeling in the world
Yeah.
when somebody literally says, hey, honey, do you think we can stay a few more days? And they change their flights to the UK, like huge. Like we have people around the world.
Yeah.
We've had over 44 countries visit us.
Mhm.
And even on our watch in the last year, we've hit pretty much every major country: Russia, Australia, Philippines, Argentina, Scotland, Switzerland. Oh my gosh, I can't even, Sweden,
Wow.
Hungary, Germany, obviously Canada, United States. So we've had people around the world just in the last 12 months. And like Steve said, they're all just really amazing, amazing people.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And shows like this and what Nick and Lynn's did for you, we'll get to in a moment. The more publicity, the more people hear about you. You're gonna have to have Steve working every day building more bungalows, more suites. We're talking to Blaney and Steve. They own the Playa Sonrisa in Mexico, about 5.5 hours or so south of Cancun. And Blaney, if people want more information, what's the best way to do it? Just go to your website. If so, just tell us how to find that.
Yeah, so first go to our website. It's very easy. It is playasonrisamexico.com. Playasonrisamexico.com.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we do have a WhatsApp button. We love questions by WhatsApp. You can book online. So the old owners did everything by good old snail mail and email. And I don't know how they ever survived in this world, but technology changes. And
Yeah.
so we are the new generation of nudists and we have technology on our side. So we love WhatsApp. So if you get into our website and you have questions, we have a contact form, but I really prefer you just WhatsApp us. Like WhatsApp us, Steve or I will get back to you almost immediately, if not very quickly. Answer your questions if you have something specific. We now also have a transportation service, Frank, and that was something the old owners never really looked into.
Mhm.
So we now have a service we partnered with. So if you don't want to rent a car in Tulum or Cancun, we can send a transportation, air-conditioned, newly new vehicle to come get you. They bring beer, they bring sodas, they bring snacks. You can sit back and relax through that journey through the jungle to visit us.
Wow.
And so just head out to our website.
Yeah, I'll bet they do. Absolutely. I also noticed on your website that you highly recommend cash because if people use cards, there's kind of a high fee charged by the companies, not by you, but by companies. What is a good amount of cash to bring for a weekend or for a week stay in general? What do people bring?
That's kind of a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
But I guess the best advice I can give, though, number one is you need to bring pesos.
Okay.
And to do that, you need to go to your bank in advance.
Right.
So most banks, you must order pesos a week or 2 weeks in advance. So that's something that takes a little bit of planning.
Yeah.
We prefer that over US cash just because the way the peso fluctuates.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to pay everybody in cash. So we have a fruit truck that comes every day by the house. We buy fresh fruits and vegetables. They want pesos.
Okay.
And if we give them American dollars, we pretty much get a big hit when it comes to the exchange rate.
Okay.
So we don't want US dollars unless it's a last resort.
Right.
But as far as enough cash, Frank, that's kind of a hard question because it just depends on if they're going to get massages and go snorkeling and diving and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I would say probably 2,000, between 1,500 and 2,000 US.
Okay.
Which is about 30,000 pesos.
Okay.
And that would probably, for their drive down, if they didn't want to stop on the side of the road and buy some stuff on the side of the road, they'll have some pesos for that because none of those people, take a credit card. So if they had anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 US dollars in pesos, which is like 25,000 to 32,000 in pesos, that would be more than enough for them to.
That's way more. That is way more than enough. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we actually have a meal plan now, Frank, too, which is really cool. So to help people kind of limit how much money they put out, we offer a meal plan that is including lunch and dinner. We talked a little bit about restaurants. Breakfast is already included.
Mhm.
So to help people kind of manage their money, they can sign up for the meal plan, which is $70 a night per couple,
Okay.
US dollars.
Mhm.
So again, depending how long they're staying. Now we have people that stay 3 days, Frank. We have people that stay 21 days.
Right.
Like
Right.
literally, we have people that stay 2 and 3 weeks with us. So it really just depends. But again, if you're going to do a la carte, it might cost you a little bit more. But our prices at the restaurant are extremely, we call it casual, meaning they're not expensive.
Right.
In the terms of our drinks, I mean, a margarita is like $6
Yeah. That's
right?
great. Yeah.
Our famous tiki teal punch that we designed when we got there, again, is about $6 US a glass. So we're not trying wine's 18 US a bottle. So at beer's $3 a bottle. So we're not charging resort prices.
Right.
So don't be worried about that. And the same thing with the meals. We include appetizer with it, of course, a starch, a green bread, and you're looking at about 20 to 25 US dollars per person. But if you do the meal plan, you actually save a few bucks. So
Okay.
we like to recommend the meal plan, and they can pay in advance for that. We are finding more and more people are I say fortunately or unfortunately, they like to pay in advance, and that does mean they use a credit card.
Right.
But it means they can carry less cash, right?
Right.
Because carrying cash, things can happen, that kind of stuff. But definitely bring plenty of cash. There's an ATM machine an hour away in Mahawal if you need to get cash out, but there's nothing in Ishkalak. There
Right.
is no banks, no ATM, no telecom, no Western Union. An ATM machine is an hour away, and an actual bank is 3 hours away.
Wow. Now it says on your site there are exorbitant fees associated with the credit cards, but if they pay in advance with a secure form that you have on your website, no
Yeah.
credit card fees if they pay ahead of time.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
So we try to take care of that.
Yeah.
But again, the goal is if you prepay your room, that's fine.
Mhm.
Bring cash for your food, bring cash for your excursions, your diving, your snorkeling, your massages, because at the end of the week, we prefer pesos.
Mhm.
Because if you don't pay us in pesos, then we've got to drive the hour or the 3 hours. And
Yeah.
it is very inconvenient
Sure.
for us to do that, especially when we have guests there. We can't leave all the time.
Yeah.
So you can pay in advance in credit card, but we really prefer when you're there at the end of your stay to pay for your tab because we work on an honor system. I don't know if you realize that, Frank.
Yeah, I saw
So
that. Yeah.
so we have a little tab and they write down beer and they slash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? If they are not on the meal plan, we'll write down dinner and they just pay at the end.
Yeah.
So again, you can always take the cash home.
Mhm.
So bring more than you think you're going to spend, like Steve said,
Right.
because you can always take it back home and convert it back.
Yeah.
Right, because you wouldn't spend that much with us,
Right.
especially if you have the meal plan like Blaney was saying. But if you want to be able to go out and do outside excursions and all, don't cut yourself short.
Right.
But people get down there, and the next thing you know, they're like, "Oh, we wish we'd have brought more pesos."
Yeah.
Not that they need them for us, because our ticket at the end is pretty low. But they plan when they get there, if they want to do additional snorkeling or scuba diving or buy some gifts in the gift shop or go out to excursions to the pyramids. So just make sure you bring enough pesos.
Yeah.
You won't spend that much with us, but you don't want to cut yourself short. You can always cash them back in.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's probably a good rule of thumb when you go somewhere, take more than you need anyway. And you've pointed out a couple of times, maybe we should really emphasize the point. You really prefer pesos / Mexican money, right?
Correct.
Because that's-
100%. And we really didn't realize until recently how important that was because we were letting a lot of people slide and pay for credit cards at the bar and their tab.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, the truck will come for the propane gas
Yeah.
and we need 2,100 pesos. And we're like, we don't have them. And they don't take credit cards at the propane gas,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or the water delivery guy on Thursday. He doesn't take credit cards.
Yeah.
So we started really feeling the pain by we really let a lot of people slide and say, oh, we'll just take cards. Don't worry about it. Well, we changed our paperwork, literally our website last week on the confirmation to be like, please bring pesos. Like
Yeah.
it is a necessity for our economy in Mexico. We're not trying to get off paying taxes and stuff because
Right.
believe me, we pay all that stuff.
Yeah.
We need to be able to pay the local folks in pesos because they have no way of taking US because US doesn't do them any good either. They
Right.
can't spend it.
Even
Right.
right now, even our staff, because before, they did have a way to pay them through Western Union, and they could, go cash it out in town. Well, the one girl who runs the Western Union there, fortunately, she passed away. So now they just shut down the Western Union. So now for our staff, when we pay them through their bank, they have to drive, an hour, sometimes 3 hours to get their check every week. If we had pesos, we could pay them all in pesos every week.
Yeah. It's just a different way to run the economy that we're not used to in the USA. So again, you're going to Playa Sonrisa, take pesos, take Mexican money.
Hmm.
Well, what about this? You have a video on your website made and produced by Nick and Lynn's. I think just about everybody in the naturism community knows who they are. They travel everywhere and put out a lot of absolutely top of the line content. I mean, you couldn't do any better with a major network or PBS or anything else. High quality video, great explanations, thorough in their job, and they obviously highly recommend your resort. I think everybody's going to highly recommend your resort. But what was that experience like, having them there on site, and what are some of the residuals you've gotten for the fact that they did such a great video on your place?
At first, we thought, well, I mean, these people, what a life. They get paid,
Yeah.
and just to travel around and explore new places. But I have to tell you, they work their tails off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they constantly work. I mean, nonstop, really. I mean, we had to take them a couple times to a couple of parties that some of the other people were having. We took them down there in restaurants, but they really do work, and they were just fantastic couple, super nice.
For me, I'll tell you, Steve, there was like a pivoted moment in their experience with us. I think that really, really solidified that we made the right decision keeping it close free.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you remember this. They have traveled the world. They have been to almost every, naked beach, nude resort. They've been everywhere. And they were at Playa Sonrisa in 2018. So it wasn't their first visit with us. They had visited the old owners. And so this was a fresh new take. They wanted to come and meet us, and like I said, we wanted to pick their brains. But this is what really gives me goosebumps, and I think it really made us realize that we were at the right place at the right time. And they said to us, typically when you find a resort that is nudist, clothes free, if it's on a beach, it's normally a huge resort, right? Because
Yeah.
they want to capitalize on the space, the venue.
Right.
So it's usually a very large resort with a lot of people. And if you find a very small resort like ours, it's typically in the jungle or way remote, and it's not on a beach. It
Yeah.
may have a pool, but it's not going to be on a beach
Right.
because that doesn't make sense to most people.
Right.
They said, you have the best of both worlds.
Oh.
You have the small, boutique, quaint family feel on the most breathtaking, beautiful beach in the world. And when they said that to us, Steve and I both looked at each other and were like, wow, we made the right decision moving, our lives from Baltimore to Mexico, leaving children, grandchildren, parents. Both of our parents are still alive. So, I mean, this is a huge move that we literally both have parents that are still with us, which is a blessing, but we left them, to move to this beautiful paradise. And then it was just, like I said, that pivoting moment where we're like, wow, we didn't know that. We didn't know that what we have is so unique, that there's not many places like Playa Sonrisa in the world where you can be in a small, quaint family, atmosphere and still be on one of the most beautiful beaches in the world.
Yeah, that's great.
We even had one couple. We did a recording with them because they said something. They thought that a place like Playa Sonrisa was just for the rich and famous.
Wow.
They said we had no idea that normal people like us would actually come here and experience this. And that was when they said that. I said, "Would you mind putting that on a recording?" It was amazing for somebody to even say something like that. But we see it every day.
Yeah.
And we take it for granted sometimes just how pristine and perfect this place really is.
Well, I can see that misnomer popping up easily. I mean, you're right on the darn water. You're 3 steps from the beach, I think one of your bungalows said. And it's, naturist, nudist, clothes free living, very peaceful. You provide all these amenities. Yeah, I could see people. Oh, so $10,000 a night. Okay, book me for 3 nights, and not even close, right?
No.
Not even close. And we do offer seasonal discounts too, which I think is nice to mention. So, high season for us is February, March, and April.
Mm-hmm.
And then this May, we were really, really busy, but I think it was because everybody was waiting for the Tulum airport to open.
Right.
So they kind of were hesitating a little bit coming earlier.
Yeah.
But typically February, March, and April is our high season. And then May, June, and July, we offer 15% off. August, September, October, 25% off.
Mm-hmm.
November, December, January, 10% off. And then if you're a member of any nudist organization like the AANR or any of them, we give you an additional 10% off. You just need to let us know before you book. We'll give you a special coupon code. And then if you've already been to Playa Sonrisa, instead of 10%, you get 15 off. So if you're like a returning guest, on top of whatever that seasonal rate is, we'll give you an extra 15% off because we love our loyalty club. You don't have to earn points or anything. You just have to have stayed with us in the past, and we can look you up if it was before our, time being there, and we'll give you an additional discount because we want to reward you for coming back. And most people do. We're actually amazed to see how many people come back year after year after year to Playa Sonrisa.
Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you honestly, I'm not surprised that they come back over and over because everything that you have there, I think probably everybody wants to come back to you, whether they can or not, depending on how life is going or their financial situation. I'm going to guess everybody, like when they leave, how soon can we get back here is probably the thought, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other things that we actually haven't talked about, but Steve and I started what's called Club Sonrisa, which is a way that you can get a VIP membership and you can actually save over 50% off your stays, get free
Wow.
massages. And so we are selling limited memberships to that to give people an opportunity to kind of, in a way, prepay for your vacations. And so we have an opportunity for folks that are interested in that to reach out to us. It's not public. It's not really out there for everybody to find. We are not that we're selective, but we obviously don't want to sell memberships to everybody.
Right.
But if it's somebody that's committed to coming back and you want to save a lot on your future return visits, it's a great way to be a part of our VIP Club Sonrisa. So you can just WhatsApp us and ask us about that, and we'll send you the information.
I think we could have stopped this interview 5 minutes into it, and everybody would have rushed to the internet to book a trip. But the longer we go, the better it keeps getting. You just got guys keep throwing stuff out there. Oh yeah, we have this, we have that. It's like, wow, this might be the best place in the world. And it helps that Steve's able to, push a wall out 3 feet. Let's not forget that. I think on your website, 2001 is when this originally opened. Was it something else before that, or was it all brand new in 2001?
It was a fly fishing resort before that.
Okay.
And it was more of a lodge. I don't even think they called it a hotel back then or a resort.
Okay.
It was more of a fly fishing lodge.
Okay. And then the whoever bought it in 2001 turned it into a naturist nudist resort?
Yep.
Okay.
They were business folks, and their background was like an accountant and I think like an oil engineer or something like that, from Colorado. So they were from the United States, and they wanted to do. They themselves were not naturists or nudists either.
Wow.
They just wanted to do something different in that area because there were so many dive shops, so many fly fishing lodges, and they were like, "What can we do with this that would attract a special niche?" And so they did their homework, and thanks to them, they did all of the hard work, right? The footwork, 22 years of, and back then it was all hard copy magazines, right? There was very little internet.
Right.
There were very little websites, no Facebook, no Instagram, no TikTok, no Twitter, right? So everything they did was through the magazines that the organizations had and running ads in there to educate them. But they really did do all the hard work. They got they just built this amazing community of followers that, and again, a lot of people have, made it many times, and some are still finally getting to us. And they're like, oh my gosh, we've been following, the old owners for, 5 years, 10 years. We're finally getting there. And, they love the breath of fresh air that Steve and I are bringing to the place, right? Because you do anything for 22 years, you do get tired. I'm sorry.
Sure, yeah.
I've run a business for a long time and you do get a little burnt out. So it was their time to pass the torch. And and I think they're very picky too, by the way, who they pass the torch to.
Sure.
Because many of folks they interviewed or tried to talk to about purchasing the resort, they wanted to take away the clothes-free living, right? They wanted to make it some kind of a private retreat for rich people. They actually, that was one of the things. It was from Canada.
Sure.
This guy was going to buy it and fly rich people into this private resort. And
Sure.
so, I'm glad that Steve and I were open-minded to the possibility of running a clothes-free resort and bringing our love of diving to it, like I said, with a different twist, has been really cool. And then with all of our skills, we're both entrepreneurs. I mean, so we both have this mindset of, creating these amazing dreams, and this is a dream come true. I've always lived on the water in Maryland, and so has Steve. But to live where the water is crystal teal aqua and not dark mush brown like Baltimore is, every day we pinch ourselves every day because we wake up with palm trees and pelicans, and and being able, who's going to be our next guest? Who's going to come visit us? Who's showing up today, Steve? It's like we end up making friends with these folks. We end up when the hurricane a couple of weeks ago, we had a potential hurricane coming our way, our first that would have happened. You wouldn't believe how many of our past guests reached out to us on WhatsApp and said, "Are you guys okay? How's it going?" Like, they truly are concerned for Playa Sonrisa and for us, which is something I think more of our guests reached out to us than our friends and family to see how we were doing.
Well, I believe it because people take a personal ownership in you as well as a resort, and that's why they keep coming back. What is the status of nudism, naturism in Mexico? I know at your place it's obviously legal, but in general, what is it like countrywide?
As far as the research I've done, so it's not obviously accepted. It's not legal. There is apparently one official beach on the West Coast that is the only quote legal nude beach in Mexico. But again, we're a private resort, and for 22 years, no one has given us any flack about it. The neighbors are all fine with it. The fishermen, they all know. At the end of our dock, we have a 200-foot dock, and we have two double loungers out there with palapas, and there's boaters occasionally that will go through, fly fishermen, and they all know that, the folks at the end are going to be nude. So they know what to expect. There's no surprises.
Oh, good. So, no surprises means no complaints and everybody's okay with it.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Well, it's been great to have talked to both of you today and get to know you a little bit. Maybe one of these days I'll actually get down there if I can get out of the studio for more than 5 minutes at a time. We've been talking to Blaney and Steve. They are the owners of Playa Sonrisa. You can find them at playasonrisamexico.com and make your reservation. You can stay in a bungalow, you can rent a suite, and you can be nude the whole time. Blaney or Steve, anything else that we left out that you want to add before we go?
If you're looking for the perfect vacation, this is it. And hopefully, very soon there will be some vacation homes that they'll be able to purchase and be able to relive this perfect vacation anytime they want.
All right, Blaney, how about you? Any last words for the listeners?
Nope, I don't let the experience of coming through the jungle road and the beach road deter you, because it is definitely worth the journey. And it's not always easy to get to, but it is harder to leave.
Yeah.
But thanks to the Tulum airport and the new Mayan train that eventually will be down to us, it is going to be even easier to get to us. So there'll be no excuses anymore.
Yeah, it used to be, about 5.5 hours by bus or by car to get to you from the airport. Now what, 2.5?
Now 2.5 to 3 from Tulum.
Yeah.
And when the train comes, the train's going to hit Lemoynes, which is 1 to 1.5 hours from us.
Okay.
So it makes it really, really doable to grab a taxi to come the rest of the way.
That is absolutely fantastic. Again, great to meet both of you today. Best wishes on your resort. Keep us in touch as Steve pushes out more walls or adds, bungalows and suites. Give us a call. We'll get you back on to talk about it. But Blaney and Steve from Playa Sonrisa in Mexico. Blaney, go out there and have a great close-free day. We'll talk again soon. Thank you so much. And Steve, you as well. Have a great close-free day, sir. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Have a great day. The terrific Blaney and Steve from the Playa Sonrisa Resort in Mexico, and you can find them at playasonrisamexico.com, and we thank them for all of their time on these last two shows. And on next week's show, which will be episode 71, we will have part 1 of a joint interview that I did with Linda Weber, president for the American Association for Nude Recreation, and Cynthia Holbach, the president for the Naturist Society Foundation. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 70 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.